If you were to ask me, what do I see as the future of animation? I would give you a very different answer than what everyone is saying about how AI is going to take over all of the animators' jobs and animation as a medium is going to be lost forever. I feel like that's an extremely bleak, negative, and honestly, I understand why not many people are getting into animation if that's what you see as the potential future. I see a much more positive view. I see a view where animation is better than it ever has been before. It's viewed as not just a genre, but an entire medium that is appreciated just as much as filmmaking, where it's viewed as not just for kids and not just like silly little drawings and cartoons, where it's actually appreciated and where the average person can name more than just 2 studios from the tip of their head, Disney and Ghibli, where indie studios are going to be more popular than ever and people are going to be really recognizing this as a valid and real form of art in the public eye. But in order for this beautiful future to happen, a few key things need to happen first. So I want to talk to you guys today about what I see as a beautiful potential future for animation, and also what needs to happen in order for us to attain that future. If this is the first time you're seeing my face, hello there, my name is Helena and I'm the creator of SketchTube, which is a social media for animators. I'm calling it a YouTube alternative meets 2025 Flipnote Hatena. So if any of those words sound interesting to you, a social media, a place where animations is the only thing that exists, so like your TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, but only 2D and 3D animation, no AI, no feeding your stuff to AI either, and no AI postings, then stick around, subscribe down below, and also join the Discord server. And on September 15th, you can join the early access SketchTube if you do the 12 Days of Animation Challenge, which was my last video. With that all being said, let's get on with the future of animation. All right, so let's start off with what we are all afraid of, which is the myth, and I'm gonna call it a myth, that AI will replace all animators. It makes total sense why we all think that right now, because it actually is. The numbers for layoffs for animation last year were higher than they had been in many, many years. And it's true that AI is allowing animation studios to take huge shortcuts, but this is not being done without pushback. These shortcuts are becoming more and more noticeable, and seeing as though a large percentage of people that actually consume these pieces of work, the movies and the video games that are taking these shortcuts, are artists and are creatives by their own right. As soon as we notice that there's something a little bit off, we boycott it completely. With people saying that the new Cat in the Hat movie and the Smurfs movie look really artificially intelligence made. I mean, these are allegations, but with a trained eye, you can tell people start to boycott and like really see these studios as less moral. So the demand for real human-made animation is there. Also, take for example the teaser trailer for Weapons by Warner Brothers. It was obviously done using AI, or at least enhanced with AI. And the fact that the people who created this movie, Warner Brothers, which is a multi-million, maybe even billion-dollar corporation, cannot even think to hire some animators to animate a children's animation for a segment of their movie. It's just ridiculous. And people are like, okay, yeah, no, this is stupid. And instead of seeing it from a point of view as, oh my God, they're taking our jobs, we're kind of seeing it from a point of like, okay, this is absolutely ridiculous and none of us are going to actually watch this movie. This is stupid. So I really like that we're taking this approach. And because of this, I think that animation in general is held in high regard. Traditional animation that is done with handmade people, like people that actually put the work into doing it, is a lot more valuable now because we're seeing a lot of this AI slop in our mainstream media, not even just in our weird Instagram reels. But what I like to see AI doing, rather than big corporations using it to cut off employees and to just minimize their expenses and maximize their profits, is the democratization and the equality of like everyone being able to make their own works. I potentially could see this boom in AI leading to a higher than ever number of indie studios, and this excites me so much. This whole video was prompted from when I saw yesterday the movie Flow, which, if you don't know, won the animated feature film of the year at this recent year's Oscars in theaters. And it was a tiny little theater in Montreal. It was this adorable little tiny like 30-person theater. And everyone was so excited to see this movie. This movie absolutely moved me. I'm such a cat person. Anyways, this movie was made by a small 4 or 5 person team in Latvia, directed by Gins Zibalodis, and it was absolutely incredible to see that whole movie was made on Blender. It was indie if indie could be a movie. Like, it was the epitome of indie, and it took them 5 years to make it, and it was absolutely beautiful. The animals actually behaved like animals, not like animals pretending to be humans. It was amazing. And that movie just, it showed me, okay, indie animation is here, and it's here to stay. It is so much more possible that these small names from these small towns and these small countries are going to be able to make things that hit the worldwide stage now, especially with AI. I know that they didn't do that with AI. They did that completely with their own hands, which is even more marvelous. But the fact that we do have AI, I mean, we're not going to try to beat it. Obviously, SketchTube is a place where you cannot post fully AI generated animations, but using it as a reference and using it to speed up your workflow, I am very much for. Using it to gather inspiration and using it as a way to make your ideas, the ideas that you want, come to life is, I think, the best way that we're going to be able to go with the tides without holding ourselves back too much and just not embracing any new technologies at all. Because I know that that's not the solution. We cannot just put our heads in the dirt and pretend that none of this is happening, as much as I would love to go back to 2020 and just erase the idea of OpenAI just totally. We can't. So we got to work with it. But I see this democratization of it allowing tons of new small studios, these small 4-5 person teams, to make us genuinely feel something. Like, a lot of studios, these big studios that have huge teams, are not able to get across. Because I've said this before when I was working on indie games a lot, I feel like a small team, for example, Undertale, Toby Fox, perfect example of this. Small teams get the point across much better than big teams when it's like tons of people communicating everywhere and then the messaging gets lost completely. I think that this is also going to make animations, films, independent indie animators, all of their works more accessible to be made, and also to, because there's more of them being made, more people are going to see that as a really cool thing to consume. We've already been going towards it more and more as the years progress, but we're still facing the allegations of animation just being for children. And I mean, you and I, we know that that's not true, but the general public might not still. They think that because it's animated in a style that is like more accessible for children sometimes, that it's just for children. And this is like, I think, partly why awards shows mostly have one category for animation, treating it like it's a genre when it's not a genre. Animation can take upon any genre. It's a medium to express something. So it's completely ridiculous. But I think that the rise of people animating and the rise of more studios animating is going to make it feel less like a children's thing, because it's more common, and it's not just big studios like squeaky clean Disney that are afraid to take any risks featuring any sort of LGBT representation or anything that isn't like super easy to digest, everything is happy and whatever. You know, different stories being told is going to change the public's perception of what animation in general stands for. Okay, I hear you saying this sounds beautiful, but how can this actually happen? Myself as well, I was wondering, how is it possible that we can take AI and instead of just being thrown under the waves and just like being completely forgotten, how can we run with it and make sure that it accelerates us as artists and creatives and animators? Well, it's with projects like SketchTube. So here we go. I'm going to explain how SketchTube fits into all of this. So like I said, SketchTube is a social media network that I'm developing that comes out on September 15th for early access. Basically, it's one place where animations get posted, and it's only animations. And my really big goal, my sole purpose with SketchTube, is to make people see animation as a really, really important, valuable, fun, and creative medium that people can use to express their stories, and to make it more common and to make it more accessible for beginners, because that's the thing that platforms like Newgrounds and DeviantArt and all these other art social medias don't have. It's not that accessible for beginners. SketchTube is going to prioritize having tutorials for beginners to learn different skills. Challenges like the weekly theme, which is where every single week there's a new theme that you have to animate, and the 12 days of animation, where you take 12 days and you learn 12 of the principles of animation. These are going to allow people to see animation as having a lower barrier to entry, because people tend to romanticize how difficult animation is and then make that the thing about animation. Wow, it's so difficult, I love pain. No, animation can be easier. And things like AI and, all of these faster tools are going to help us make it easier for beginners to get into it, because that's what we want. We don't want people to be like, okay, it's AI is taking over, it's doing everything for me, I'm just going to give up and just never start because they can do it better than I ever can. No, use this as a way that you can tell your stories even better, that you can tell your stories and learn and be surrounded by a community that also appreciates it as much as you do. Because if you're a creative, community is so important, because we tend to self-isolate already because we're always in our heads and it's hard to say out loud what we feel. But I feel like showing it on a social media, showing it and being like, this is what I made, people commenting and being like, I love what you did here. And then you go see what they did. And everything like this for creatives is the best way to make connections. And that's what we're craving so much. The thing that I really don't like about Sam Altman, the CEO of ChatGPT, and just their whole philosophy is the idea of AI being used to have solo people, singular people, build their dreams all on their own. So like, because I'm a solo person, I am going to do everything by myself. I am not going to have anyone's help because I can do everything just talking to ChatGPT. This isolates people. This makes us lonely. This makes us feel like we can only depend on ourselves, and this doesn't foster teamwork, and this doesn't foster growing and time over tension and growing our skills. So I see the sweet spot in the middle being using these tools in the way that is not making us not think at all, just in a way that makes us think even more and get even better ideas, and using them in a way that promotes community together, that allows us, if we can create a place like SketchTube where it's a community of animators that are interested in the same thing, and that's where our common interest is, that's where we hit the jackpot, because we have what we need. We have our inspiration. We're inspired by each other. We have our community. We are talking to each other. We're making connections. We're becoming friends. We have our works out there. We're showing each other our animations, our work, and we're also getting to improve our skill. It's like everything is happening in platforms like these. So that's why it's so important to support projects like SketchTube, because it's not possible to do it with a small amount of people. For us to really make it work, it needs to be mainstream. It needs to be something that a lot of animators use, because it needs to be something that new animators, people that want to get into the medium, can be like, oh, there's already this whole community of people making this stuff on SketchTube. I want to go check it out. So, I'm so passionate about this. I could go on for days, but I'll cut it short here because I feel like I've gone off enough. But so if you're interested again in joining SketchTube Early Access, that's on September 15th, about 1 month away. Make sure to do the 12 Days of Animation Challenge, where you learn one principle of animation for every day for 12 days. But if you want to do it in random order, that's all cool. It's until the end of August that I'm going to be accepting applicants. And then September 15th, that is when SketchTube will be Early Access. And then the final launch, the public launch, will be a few months after that. Release date TBD. All right, I'm so excited that you're here. So happy, so grateful that you're here. Make sure you join the Discord server down below. We always like to chat, and I would like to do a weekly movie screening, because watching the movie Flow yesterday in theaters was just so cool. It was like a tiny theater, and I was imagining to myself, imagine if this was people from the Discord server. That would be so cool. So if that interests you, go down below and then maybe suggest a movie that you would want to see. And yeah. All right, so that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great week, and bye.